Okay, good evening, everyone, and thank you for joining us for our virtual Year 5 and 6 open evening this evening. We're delighted that you've been able to join us virtually. Though we're obviously disappointed that we can't welcome you to Nova and have you in the building. It's always a pleasure to welcome parents and carers, families to the building to show them exactly what we do at the school and to be able to celebrate what we do and share with them our wonderful facilities. But we really appreciate you joining us in this way this evening. I am going to start with a bit of housekeeping that some of you will have heard as you've been waiting to join us. And that is to say that please could you turn your microphones off and your cameras off to make sure that you aren't captured during the course of the recording. Thank you very much. So I'm going to begin by sharing with you the fact that I was in your position just over 2 years ago as a parent. I was looking for, with my wife, the right school for our daughter at the time, and she's now in year 8. And what I was doing was having the same questions that you've currently got for your own children. I was wondering about what sort of school might be able to provide her with the place where she would be happy. I was trying to find a place for her that would ensure that she worked hard and that she thought deeply about the curriculum that was taught at the school. I wanted a school for her that had great teachers who cared about her, but were able to teach her fantastically well. I wanted to make sure that she had a school where there were lots of opportunities to take up alongside the academic subjects that she was learning, so that she'd be a rounded individual. I wanted a school for her where she'd have the support that she needed when it was required. And I had a question about what sort of school might provide her with disruption-free learning, because I didn't want to send her to a school where she went to classes and her learning was disrupted. I wanted a school where staff were able to ensure that behaviour was dealt with when students didn't do things right, and where she was celebrated, praised and rewarded when she did get things right. And what I'd like to talk to you about this evening is the sort of school that Nova is. What sets us apart from other schools? What makes us special? And I'd like to give you some answers to those sorts of questions that I know as a parent myself go through the mind of a parent looking for the right secondary school for their child. I know that your children and you as parents have built really important relationships with the primary schools that your children have been to. And I know that it's important that we continue that work moving forwards into the coming years so that your child is supported and ready to be successful at secondary school. I'd like to begin this evening with an image, the image that's on the screen here. This is the Crab Nebula, and it's a supernova. It resulted from an explosion that occurred in 1054 AD. A nova is an explosion in space that's so bright that it can outshine an entire galaxy. And this, metaphorically, is what we want our students to do at Nova, what we want your children to do at Nova. We want them to be able to find their own way to shine. In Latin, Nova means new, and each new year at any school can bring a new beginning. Joining Nova, the school, our school, is just like that. It's a new beginning for your child. So what makes Nova shine? What makes us special? What might make a parent choose Nova over any other school in Swindon? Well, we're a school with a really strong ethos, and I want to talk to you about that this evening. Our school and everything that we do in it is underpinned by 4 strong values. We're a school that expects its students to work hard. Alongside that, we've got really strong pastoral support systems to help your child, whether that's with an aspect of their home life that they're finding difficult at the moment, or whether that's with a special educational need or disability. We have staff here that can support your child through year 7 all the way to year 11 and beyond. We're a school that believes in high achievement for all of its students. A school at which, no matter what your starting point as a child, you will be supported, celebrated, and you will make great progress. We're a school with a really principled curriculum. Our faculty leaders think really carefully about what we teach your children, how they teach your children, and at what points they teach different elements of curriculum content. And we've got great teachers at Nova. We've got classrooms in which we have a behaviour system that supports disruption-free learning, so that your children can go from class to class and know that there's a system in place to ensure that other children aren't going to disrupt their behaviour. And that means that even our most vulnerable students are able to go to a classroom and feel safe and secure and able to learn. We have a really strong house system, which I'll talk to you about later, and what we call our Supernova package, our Supernova programme, which is our extracurricular programme. I mentioned a moment ago that we have 4 really key principles here, 4 values that we hold really dear to ourselves. And our students are very familiar with these because these aren't just things that are put up on the walls as posters. These are values that we live and breathe every single day. We call them our DISC values because we believe that they lead to our students being well-rounded individuals, and they underpin everything that we do. Drive, integrity, scholarship, and contribution. Drive is important because we believe for the students at Nova, there should be a set of ambitions. They should be ambitious and aspirational, and our teachers and support staff help them in that. We look to bring out the best from every single one of our students. No matter what their background, no matter what their current problems, we believe all of those things can be overcome. Integrity is important because it's clearly key that students can be kind to each other and the staff. It's clearly important that they should be polite and trustworthy and honest. And that underpins what we do because we believe not only in having respect for each other, but also it's important that students have a level of self-respect. In terms of scholarship, we believe that our students should be curious. They should be able to answer questions about what they're learning in class. They should be curious, keen to learn. They should be willing to debate all of the issues in the world around us. And we use our routines, we develop habits, and we develop behaviours that enable students to behave in those ways. Contribution is the last of our DISC values. We believe in participating and giving 100%. We give our students student leadership opportunities because we don't want them just to contribute in school. We believe the students that come to Nova can contribute amazing things to the local community and the wider world, nationally and internationally. It's very easy for a head teacher to say that their school has a set of values, but I want to talk to you now about how we live those values with 3 key mnemonics that we use here. The first is slant, and in our classrooms around Nova, we teach students how to slant. Slanting is how we hold ourselves. We sit up straight, we listen really carefully, we ask and answer questions as scholars, we never interrupt the teacher or the person who's speaking, and we track the speaker. And these things help us to see that students are more likely to be learning, but it also helps students to prepare themselves for the outside world. We also talk with our students about shaping their sentences, shaping the way that they speak. We expect our students to speak in full sentences, to articulate themselves clearly, project their voices, and use eye contact. And the last of our mnemonics that helps our students understand the expectations at Nova is steps. And this is about our manners. We use sir or miss when we're talking to teachers. We say thank you. We say sorry when it's necessary to do so. We say please, and we say excuse me. And all of these things not only help our students to develop as individuals at Nova, but they'll clearly help students as they move into their future lives. And we help and support our students to develop these characteristics as they move through Nova. We also understand that for some students, a small number of students, some of these expectations initially will be hard to achieve. And we make reasonable adjustments, particularly for those students with special educational needs, to support them to develop these skills over time. Because we do all of these things, over the past 5 years, our reputation has improved in the local community. And because of that, the number of students wanting to come to Nova has also increased. In a normal year, I'd be able to share with you the comparison of this year's exam results with previous years. I'm not going to do that this year because certainly for those of you with children in year 11, you'll understand that the exam results were very differently arrived at this year. However, I can say to you that this year's year 11, the student who left us in 2020, were incredibly well supported, and they achieved a set of results that will certainly help them to go on to do whatever they wanted to do before they left us at the end of year 11. And you can see there's some of their smiling faces when they came to collect their results on exam results day. I'd like you to consider, given our background and our reputation for supporting students well, just the sorts of things that your child, if they were to join us, and they would be our class of 2026, would be able to achieve over 5 years. And I'd like to go on now to talk to you about some of the things that we have in place that we believe would help them to achieve amazing things. So we have a strong leadership team at Nova with a reputation for school improvement, for making sure that we deliver excellent outcomes for students, but also that we deeply care about the students who come to Nova in the time that they're with us, but also once they leave. And you can see here some of the key figures on that team. We have 5 assistant principals, myself as head teacher, Mr. Wells, and we also overseen in a cluster of schools with a secondary school down the road, Swindon Academy, and 2 primary schools by our executive principal, Ruth Robinson. At Nova, we have, alongside our reputation for exam results, a really strong house system. And this is the heart of our school. Every student at Nova is part of this house system. They're put into one of 4 houses on entry to year 7. You can see their names there: Aquila, Pegasus, Cygnus and Orion, named after constellations, relating back to the star metaphor I used with you earlier, that we look for every student to shine at Nova. And they become part of a house family. They wear a tie that shows which house they're part of. Every morning, in a normal situation, they go to roll call within their house. At the moment, we're doing that through year groups, but they're still wearing their house ties. They're still a firm part of that house system. They have registration for 25 minutes, and they also have a house assembly each week. So the house system is a really strong part of our structure. It gives students a real sense of belonging at the school. We have competitions in houses. We have house points so that students can compete throughout the house year. And there's an overall house championship for which there's a reward at the end of each academic year. Within each house, we have 7 tutor groups. Each child is placed within one of those tutor groups between year 7 to 10, and it's a great opportunity for students to get to know students from other year groups and expand their friendship group within the school. It's supportive because older students can act as role models for younger students, and sometimes that works in reverse. And year 7, as they arrive, become part of a much wider family of students as they move through the school, and they can take on leadership opportunities. We've this year moved to a situation where we have special year 11 tutor groups so that they can be supported in terms of their final academic year at school. We monitor progress of students through these houses. We encourage them to compete against each other, and we set challenges. The house system also means that our pastoral team can work more closely with families because siblings are placed into the same house. So as a family, you have a single point of contact in terms of pastoral care around your child, rather than having to contact a head of year for one of your children for year 7 and a separate head of year for year 8 or 9, 10 or 11. Alongside our senior leaders, who I showed you on a previous slide, we also have our house team. And you can see on the slide now that we have 2 layers to that house team. The first are our house leaders, led by Mr. Thomas, one of our assistant principals. And the second is our house managers. The house managers are your main point of contact as parents. So if you were in Aquila House, for example, you would be working with Miss Convey, whilst if you were in Pegasus, you'd be working with Miss Ludlow. And they're your point of contact for pastoral support alongside the tutor of your child. The heads of house lead our roll call each morning, delivering messages to their house. They are the champion of their houses, and they also lead the tutor programme. Alongside our pastoral support mechanisms, we've also got a really strong and principled curriculum at Nova. We believe it's really important that your child has access to the most important knowledge that's emerged from the history of humanity. And we work really carefully to sequence that knowledge. We make sure that no matter what your child's starting point, they're able to make progress within that curriculum. And we want to provoke them to think about the most amazing things that humanity has ever discovered. We make sure there's connections between the knowledge that's been planned, and we encourage our students to think as scholars. We want them to think hard because we know that's how they learn the most. Our teachers really value scholarship, and we set high expectations of our students. But in having those high expectations, we support all students to achieve. We're ambitious for your children academically and vocationally, and we plan learning sequences that support your child to be able to achieve. We use a structure that goes through a sequence of steps so that teachers explain and model elements of their subjects. We guide the practice of students so that ultimately they're able to apply the knowledge that they've learnt during the course of their lessons. One of the biggest differences between primary and secondary school is the number of lessons that your child has during the course of the week. And in normal circumstances, and we'd want to be back in normal circumstances by the time your child arrives with us in year 7, the number of movements that they make around the building. So at Nova, we have 28 lessons each week. We have 5 lessons on a Monday and a Friday, and 6 lessons on Tuesday, Wednesday and Thursday. Our lessons last for 55 minutes. And every day between year 7 and year 10, our students end the day with a reading session, a shared reading session with a group of students in their class, with a really high quality text being read to them by their tutor. Having this number of lessons and having longer days than lots of other schools locally means that we can cover a much broader curriculum. What does that mean in practice? Well, you can see here the number of lessons that we cover in each subject area. So we have 5 lessons a week, 1 each day in year 7 for English, 4 for maths and science, 5 for humanities, that covers history, geography and RE. 2 lessons for modern foreign languages. At Nova, that means French. We have 2 lessons in the performing arts covering drama and music. 2 lessons of design and technology. That covers textiles, food and product design. 1 of art, 2 of PE, and we also have a really strong PSHE programme at Nova, which supports students' development personally in terms of their health, in terms of their social skills and also their economic understanding of the world. So we do cover a broad curriculum at Nova, and we've got a large number of lessons in each subject so that we can do justice to each of those subject areas. Alongside learning in school and our expectations of our students working here, we also have really high expectations of students working at home. We've looked at what the highest performing schools in the country do, both by working with United Learning, of whom we're a part, as part of the biggest academy chain in the country, but also by visiting other schools where students make really strong progress between year 7 and year 11, because we want the best for the children who come to Nova, and we know that our parents want the best for them too. And if you want the best for your child, and we do, and we know our parents do, then it's important that children, our students, your children, work hard at home as well as at school. So we expect our students to do 30 minutes of home study for each subject each week. And we also have expectations around children reading each day. We do help and support children on the transition into this because we know that it's a much higher expectation than most children are used to from primary school. I know from my own children's experience, this isn't what they're used to at primary school, but stepping up into a secondary school, this is what's expected. So we support our children on the transition by making sure that there's no home study set for year 7 until the 3rd week back. So our current year 7s are just beginning their home study. We call it home study because we think it's designed to prepare students for the sorts of studies they'll need to be able to do to be successful in their lives, in their academic lives, but also in their professional lives. Those people who are most successful work hard, they have to study, and we've explored with our faculty leaders and with other high performing schools in the country the sorts of home study rather than homework that needs to be carried out to be successful in each of our different subject areas. We also have a really strong reading programme, as I mentioned earlier at Nova. Alongside our home study programme, we really believe in the importance of reading, and so for that half hour at the end of each day, we read books with our year 7 students. This is a really enjoyable moment in the school day, having seen it happen. It's an incredible experience to walk the school and see all of the different classrooms where students are reading books with their tutors. As well as being enjoyable, clearly it's a way of students building their knowledge of the world and their vocabulary. The 6 books that we've chosen for year 7 cover a wide range of social issues, from special educational needs through to experiences of people from different cultures. And there are also some fantastical tales too, recent fantastical tales, as well as ancient fantastical tales from the Greek heroes. The first set of texts that our students study is actually an anthology that we put together ourselves, which cover a range of aspects of our DISC values of drive, integrity, scholarship and contribution. To support you to track your child, to help your child in terms of their home study, we have a system called ePraise. It's an online system that helps us to ensure that you as parents know what home study your child should be doing each day. And it also helps your child to be able to know what they need to do each day. You can see on the screen what the package looks like initially when you open it up. There's a planner, and for each day you can see an example here of the sorts of things that are set. Each piece of home study is given a week's notice to complete. So on a Monday, the child is set the homework for the following Monday. That means that the child has the whole week to complete that task. They also have a whole week on which they can use the ePraise messaging service to contact their teachers if they're finding a particular piece of home study difficult. And we encourage all of our children and our parents to support their children to not leave home study to the last minute, to develop really important skills of organisation and structure in their lives so that they can be successful beyond school. I mentioned earlier our Supernova enrichment programme, and you can see an example of the sorts of things we have on offer here normally. We're really delighted with the normal setup for our Supernova programme, our enrichment programme, because it means that our students have opportunities they wouldn't normally have within the school curriculum. You can see on the slide here some examples of the sports that we have in place: table tennis, basketball, cross country. There are all sorts of support sports on offer. We also have musical opportunities, scientific opportunities, and alongside this, we run in a normal year a number of trips. We've run trips to New York, we've had ski trips in the past, and we take our students to France. And we give parents plenty of opportunity to prepare their child for these trips. The reason that we do this is because we have in place something called our Nova Pupil Charter. This is a pledge that we make to our students, but it's also a pledge that we expect our students to make in return. And you can see on the screen here now the 10 aspects of that charter. Some examples: an opportunity to go on a residential trip, the opportunity to take part in a performance, the opportunity to take on a leadership role, the opportunity to hear from inspirational speakers. And we make the commitment to you, the parents of Nova, and our students, that they will have opportunities to take part in these experiences, because these sorts of experiences are the kinds of experiences that help students to get into professions, to get to university, to take on a higher level apprenticeship. Those are the sorts of things that students at Nova are all capable of, no matter what their starting point at school. To support our students through that process of taking on those opportunities, but also to communicate with you in terms of celebrating the opportunities that your children have taken on, we've got a number of different rewards that we have on offer. The first of which is our ePraise disc point system. We provide our teachers with 30 points that they can allocate to the students that they teach or the students that they work with closely each week. And we use ePraise to allocate those disc points. So as parents, you're able not only to see what home study your child has, but also the rewards that they receive during the course of that week. We think it's important that students are celebrated the things that they achieve around the school and in their home lives. But we also know that some children, if they go to other schools, aren't acknowledged for all of the amazing things that they do every day, and also the sorts of things that they do each day that help them every day to do the right thing, to attend school, to show the right sorts of behaviours. So what we do for those children is allocate automatic points each week to ensure that no child is missed. So disc points are allocated, but we also have other systems of reward. We're introducing this year a system of reward postcards, and this year we're also introducing a head teachers award that I'll give out for very special achievements of certain individual students. One of the opportunities I mentioned earlier was student leadership. We know that our students have the potential at Nova to take on leadership opportunities whilst they're in school, but we also know that we need to prepare them to take on the kinds of opportunities, leadership opportunities they'll have in their professional lives, running their own businesses, being potential future MPs, leading the sorts of organisations that make a difference in society. And so within each of our houses, we have tutor representatives, house representatives. They then move up to a senior council. We have head students, and at the top of that structure there, you can see Miss Dominy, who oversees that structure. And that structure in the centre of the screen now provides our students with a voice at Nova. We think it's important that we listen to our students, take on their feedback, because they are an important part of the Nova community. We also have a number of other student leadership posts. We have a set of prefects who are selected during the course of year 10 and support us during year 11. We're introducing this year global ambassadors who will make sure that the diverse range of students at Nova are represented and celebrated. We have student librarians. We're introducing this year a set of wellbeing leaders We've got peer mentors, sports captains, sports leaders, and another new post that we're introducing this academic year, anti-bullying ambassadors, to make sure that any bullying that does arise at Nova, and any head teacher who tells you that there isn't bullying at their school is lying, we make sure that bullying is dealt with at Nova, and our anti-bullying ambassadors are going to form an important new part of that process. I also mentioned to you earlier that the support that's in place at Nova. We do have really high academic expectations of our students, and we know that it's important to support any vulnerable students in order to reach those academic expectations. And so one of the most important groups of people that you will have contact with early on, especially if your child needs support, is the group of people on the screen here now. This is our hub team. They're based in what we call the hub at school. They're a pastoral support team, and they'll work very closely with your children when they arrive at Nova, and you, should you so need them, to make sure that your child's supported. We like to make sure that we've got consistency in terms of our expectations at Nova. We know that students thrive at Nova when our high expectations are consistently delivered across the whole school. And we like to make sure that we get the small things right. Attendance is incredibly important. Punctuality is incredibly important. The way that we present ourselves in terms of our uniform shows pride in ourselves and pride in our community. And our behaviour is really important around the school. We work together with our parents to maintain this. It's important that we get the small things right, and we support our students to do that by having a roll call at the start of the day, so that we can address any issues at the start of the day and make sure that they have a smooth remainder of the day through the school. In order to support with consistency, we've got 9 clear rules in our classrooms and 9 clear rules around the school. These are displayed in each of our classrooms. They're displayed around the school to help our students understand our expectations, to help our staff make sure that we're supporting and challenging our students consistently to meet those expectations. And there isn't anything there that I think would surprise you, that we'd expect our students to enter the room when invited by a member of staff and sit where they're instructed to do so, to raise their hands to ask a question, to allow others to get on with their learning. All of those things enable our students to have a smooth run at the day, to be able to learn really well in lessons, and our teachers to teach your children to a really high level. We also have these 9 rules around the school. To listen carefully to the teacher and other students and be respectful of staff. And all of those things are our expectations that we'd expect our students to meet every day, day in, day out. We know that some students occasionally, and as human beings, make mistakes. We remind them. We do have a warning system at Nova, so the students are given a warning as a first reminder, and then subsequent to that, there's a very clear set of steps that are in place to make sure that our conduct around the school and our conduct in lessons is upheld. And that's helpful for all students, most of all our students who are vulnerable and our students with special educational needs. Because there's that clarity, because there's disruption-free learning, because they know there's consistency from one class to another, all of our students, especially our students with special educational needs, can go from one classroom to another and have an excellent learning experience. Alongside our hub team sits our Senko and his team in the SEND team. Our Senko is called Mr. Wilkinson, and during the transition process, he works closely, and his team work very closely with children and their families if they have a special educational need or disability. Mr. Wilkinson and the other members of our leadership team aren't joining me this evening. That's so that we can have a smooth run through the slides. But it would be possible at the end of the session, once I've shared with you how to get in contact with us, for you to get in contact with Mr. Wilkinson if you've got any concerns at all about any special educational needs that your child might have. We have a designated SEND team. We've got a really well resourced inclusion area within the hub, and we've got really well-defined pathways of support that your child would follow should they have any special educational needs or disabilities. We've got 2 tiers of SEND status. So we've got our SEND support tier, and we've also got our EHCP tier. So if your child has an educational health and care plan, there's a separate tier of support. But obviously there's a crossover with the support that they and all of our children have in place in classrooms. So we have a universal provision for all of our children. We've got a targeted provision for those students who are on our SEND support tier, and we've got a very bespoke support package for those students who have EHCPs. This year, we've introduced a new position of student support specialist. We've recently appointed Rebecca Hopkins, and she's supporting our students, particularly those in year 7 who are transitioning across, who've got anxieties and mental health issues, and she's able to support them to make the transition from primary to secondary school. And obviously your child, should they join us, will be able to get access to that support as well. We know in Swindon and nationally there are concerns about children's mental health, particularly in the current climate, and so we work with a number of organisations to support with that. We engage with an organisation called SMASH, who are a youth mentoring team, and they support a number of students, particularly those in year 7 at the moment, with their mental health. Alongside SMASH and our own team in the hub, we've got a team of listeners because we know young people at the moment don't always feel listened to. So we've engaged with Bristol Diocese to work with 3 listeners, and we refer students to that team. We also work with Bernardo's and Trailblazers, Project 8. All of our hub team are attachment trained, so we're trauma aware. We're able to work with students who have attachment needs, and we have a school nurse, and we purchase time from TAMS, who also are able to refer on to CAMS. So we work really closely with our students and our families to make sure that they're supported to meet our high academic expectations. Someone's just asked a question in the chat room about school meals. So we have a school diner at school. It's called the Stella Diner, and students are able to purchase food in the diner in normal circumstances, and we use parent pay to enable parents to put money onto their child's account. We normally use a biometric fingerprint system to enable students to access the money that's on that account, and obviously any children who are eligible for free school meals can use their free school meal allocation to purchase their food during the course of the day. I can see that there are a couple of other questions coming up in the chat room, and one of those was about finding out more information about SEND. Before I answer that, I'm going to say that we're not going to take questions from the chat room any further, because what we want to do is collate all of the questions together and provide a frequently asked questions document that we'll share with all of you who've been able to join us. I will just take the 2 questions that have popped up on my screen now, but then I won't take any more. The first was about SEND support. So when we share with you the form that we'll be sharing after this meeting, which I believe will be going out tomorrow morning to all of you who've joined us this evening, you can ask us specific questions about your child in terms of SEND support. We'd be happy to answer all of those, and Mr. Wilkinson will respond to you with those. And the last question was a very specific question about vegan food. If your child has specific dietary requirements, then we will ensure that they're able to be met, or we will work with you on a way in which we can meet those. So thank you for those 3 questions. If you do have any other questions, then please do share them with us via the form that was sent out. On the school website, on the Nova website at the moment, in the yellow band that appears at the top, you'll find a link to further information off the back of this open evening. So you can go there and find a virtual tour of the school. We were really aware for the current year 7 parents that they weren't able to get into the school to see what it was like. but we're also aware that for you, you haven't been able to visit the school this evening and your child hasn't been able to visit the school. So during the period of school, partial school closure, we got a company to come in and make a virtual tour of the school, and you can click around the school and feel like, as much as you can at the moment, you're taking a walk around the school. You can go to the various different wings, we call them, that come out from our central atrium. You can see the atrium itself, which is a beautiful space. And alongside that virtual tour, each of our faculty leaders and subject leaders has recorded a short video, because normally this evening we would give your students the opportunity, or children, the opportunity to go off and have a taster session. We knew we weren't going to be able to do that, but what you can do is watch a short video of each of the subject leaders introducing their subject to you and talking to you and your child about why their subject's important but also exciting at Nova. As I said a moment ago, anyone who registered this presentation or has joined us this evening is going to be able to ask us any questions via an electronic form that we're going to share with you. So it just remains for me to say thank you very much for joining us this evening for this presentation. I hope you found out what you needed to find out, but if you haven't, ask us those questions via the form. And at some point in the future, we are really hopeful that we'll be able to have you in for one of our open mornings where we'll be able to give you a tour of Nova to show you the school in practice, so that you can see students learning and you can see our teachers